We did have a guy, it was his first platoon, and he kind of lost his marbles on the hit. Like he was rattled to the point where he basically gave up and hung it up. Didn't come with us. He was a 60 gunner, and so yeah, we had an intel guy at the time that was not a team guy that is now, that jumped in a spot basically.
Dang.
You talk about like old school, like I know they wouldn't let that stuff happen now. It's basically like here's a 60,
man up.
Yeah, sit in the door and
That's
whatever. But
that's cool. That's also interesting. People always, it's one of those kind of myths or misconceptions where people think that everyone that's a SEAL is like 100%. And there you go. You got a guy that did one operation and said, I'm not going any further.
I remember, I think there was a couple guys on the West Coast that turned their birds in after 9/11. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, what did you sign up for?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and there was a couple instances too where, you'd find out things about guys that, just like being a BUDS instructor, don't ever count anybody out, don't ever bet on anybody, because there's people that'll surprise you both ways.
Yeah, I always feel like, somebody was asking me that the other day, I always feel like you can get an indication, right? Mm-hmm. Like you go, oh, you know what, this guy's pretty hardcore. Yeah. I'd go 80%, maybe 90%. Mm-hmm. And you think, oh, this guy's pretty weak. I'd go 80%, 90%. But there's, like you said, there's outliers, or there's people that you just think, what just happened to that guy?
Yeah.
And it's another thing I'm having to contend with now as I get a little bit older, is the fact that even though I'm all about human nature and all this stuff, and like I really want to understand people, sometimes I just look at them like I literally don't understand what your problem is.
Yeah.
Like why would a big one? So there was a Navy ship out in front of my house the other day, and I took a picture of it, and I sent it to like Leif and JP and Dave Burke and Flynn Cochran, and I was like, the Navy was good to me, but I don't miss these big gray monsters, right? Yeah. And Leif wrote back, he's like, yeah, I mean, that was my motivation going through BUDS. There's no way, and everyone kind of agreed. Everyone was like, yeah, there's no way I was going to quit BUDS and go to a ship, right, which is not exactly, well, if you have the personality where you think you want to go to BUDS, then being on a ship is completely the opposite of that personality. So I don't understand how a guy could be, get to a point where they say, you know what, I don't want to be wet cold anymore, which is really all it is. People get all excited about SEAL training, but you're wet and you're cold and you're tired. Yeah. Okay, that's not that big of a deal.
The pamphlet is 10% of the job.
Yeah, check. Yeah, so you get some people that I guess they don't really want to do it. Yeah. Everybody wants to be a frogman on a sunny day.
Yeah,
that's another good saying.